Well, good morning, Miramar, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Tamara G. Don't forget, you can check us out on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at City of Miramar. And with us right here in Miramar, we all know it's right here in Miramar, is our very own Director of Cultural Affairs, Camasha Cevieux. She is with us today, not as the Director of Cultural Affairs, but apparently she's been very busy this COVID season. She's written a book, and we're going to be talking with her about her new endeavor. It's called The Ambitious Collective. So welcome to the show, Camasha.
Thank you, Tamara. Always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And for you to be with us as well. But like I said, this is not city related. This is your personal thing that you've done. And I wanted to talk to you about it because it's very ambitious of you, Camasha, to write a book in the middle of a pandemic. Tell us how this all got started.
Well, to be quite honest, it was years in the making. During the pandemic, it gave me time to sort of look at things and reflect on things. So it took time for me to actually even think about what I am doing and the purpose of the Ambitious Collective and how I could get it across in the way that I wanted to. So the whole concept of time was super important to this project.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that forth. But the Ambitious Collective is really about having gone through a series of eventful experiences and saying, where's the manual? And that is like the biggest joke, because there is no manual for life, you know?
Right.
But I felt like if I was going to be purposeful anyway, that because I had lived through some things, that it was important for me to leave some nuggets that that could benefit someone else, whether they're up or down. Because one of the things with this book, on the cover, it says the book was written at the time I had become an offering. And that's a very significant, those are significant words in terms of you to understand what was in my mind or what was I feeling at the time the book was given. So it already opens the door that there, I had challenges and I'm very much like anyone else, and in those challenges collectively, there's that word, there was ambition and that there were shared experiences. I needed people to not see me. So it's not written in journal format. It's written so people can see. So there's not on this such date, this happened when. It was more about letting people see themselves and then consider me. Because I knew that ambition in of itself does not just belong to me, it belongs to everyone.
And we're going to talk about ambition in just a minute. Let's do a little bit of your background. Obviously, again, we mentioned that you are the Director of Cultural Affairs for the City of Miramar. But, long before that, way many moons ago, you as with anyone, you grow and evolve into whatever role you're in right now. So tell us, what roles did you start out with, particularly after high school and going into college?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because when we talk about concept of ambition, everything I did to sort of get to the next notch had something to do with that. So I did retail. That was one of my early jobs, and met people that are part of my collective right now. One of the most significant jobs I can just sort of point to was when I worked for Louis Vuitton more than Hennessy as a brand ambassador. That was a new opportunity that they brought to the United States. Only 6 people had the job. It was very coveted. And I learned a lot. And I met a lot of very strong women, because we're doing this in Women's History Month, that taught me a lot, and even writing the book during this period of time and letting it drop then now represents a history of the representation that I've seen, and has got me to the place I am now. And so working for the city, I've been with the city about 19 years. So I'm a 19-year public servant, and I'm very proud of that. It has not been an easy road, and I don't think anything is that's worth living. But again, my experiences here really offered a lot to the book as well. So you have a series of both corporate and public sector arena experiences in the work world that reminded me that ambition is important. And it also is something that it should be, it's not always given to you at every given time.
So let me ask this, because we are talking about the Ambitious Collective. And if you are just tuning in, we are speaking with Camasha Cevieux. She is the author of the new book, The Ambitious Collective. That word, particularly when you're dealing with women, seems to be almost a curse word or no one ever talks about men and their ambition, because it's just understood that they are going to be ambitious and they want to move to the next level. But when you say that, and particularly as a female writer, you say the Ambitious Collective, what are some of the things that people have said now that you have the book out? Like what is their forethought on that?
Well, I think the main thing is that they understand those two words together means you're not alone, right?
Oh.
So the word in isolation sort of can historically give off the connotation of what you said, that, you know, women shouldn't have it or certain groups. But the fact of the matter is, and that ambition, the idea of ascension, right? Because that's what that is, has been given to me by both male, female, and there, it had no bias in terms of opportunities that have presented itself. So that's something I do want to bring out. So my vision of what that is it was important to say that it was both male and female, and then also bring note that I'm an immigrant. I came from the island of Grenada, right? And when you come into a new country, you're almost, the goal is you're supposed to ascend. You're supposed to try to make the best of the opportunity that's being presented to you. So my very beginnings were rooted in that because of coming from a different place. So it was never a dirty word in my house growing up.
Okay.
And I think outside of being from a different place, I'm still Black. And so one of the things that my parents, and they never harped on differentiating whether I came from Grenada or not. I think the main thing was that you had to be twice as good. And right. And that's an age old adage that really supersedes where you come from, you know? But in our communities of color, one of the things that I think is polarizing is that sometimes people feel like only one person should have it at a time. And that is where the misnomer is. It's not about, this is why those two words together, the Ambitious Collective, is so important. It's the message I'm delivering.
But there's so much for everyone, Camasha. Why is it that just one person should have it all? Like there's enough for all of us to succeed, or enough for all of us to share in what is happening out here in the world. That I love the fact that it's a collective, because that also shows that you don't believe or feel like you can do it all by yourself, and you can't, right?
Right. And just sitting here with you and just knowing you for some time is a reinforcement of that, because we've been together in many instances where that has been the opportunity. Let's say opportunity has been interchangeable. Right. And that already, the reason why you feel that way and you can express yourself in that is because you do already believe that you already have that in your heart to be a part of the Ambitious Collective. So whether those words came together for you in the past, it comes certainly together in this book, which really excites people about the concept and excites people about offering it to others, because if you don't offer it, then it can't continue, you know? So ambition,
that is the give back. That's the give back that you're talking about, as far as you feel like why you are in the situation that you're in, or the position that you're in, is that you're supposed to be able to give back and bring someone up with you. And obviously you've been doing that for many years. Is there an issue when other people don't want to be brought up? Because that's an issue too. We always think or say that people, nobody's willing to give me a helping hand, or nobody, but sometimes people don't want to be out of wherever they are or moved up to the next level. Let's talk about that.
So that's really exciting what you just said, because I think that was probably the most fascinating thing. Remember what I've told you, everything's been rooted in ambition and the concept of ascension. So I actually met people that exactly what you said, that don't want to move from where they are. And that was actually very exciting to me as well, because the first chapter in the book says nothing real in you could ever be threatened, right? And it speaks of your authenticity. right?
Okay.
So really that person that doesn't want to move is authentic. Authentically, they understand who they are, you know? And that was an exciting experience to kind of know that. I never connected to that because I was on a different mindset. I was always connected to wanting to ascend.
Mhm.
That was a refreshing thing to know that, and that's okay as well. But you know, at the end of the day, they can still be a part of this, the ambitious collective, because the idea is not preventing that word, the ambition, for anyone else, not preventing someone from having it. They're not the ones preventing, they just know authentically, they know the spaces where they want to reside.
And isn't that amazing? Because truly, I think a lot of issues, a lot of problems would would all be taken care of if people knew themselves and
Sure.
were honest with themselves about where
Right.
they want to be. And that's relationships, personal, work
Absolutely.
relationships, everything. It's like you have got to be honest with yourself. Are you okay with where you are? If you're okay
Right.
with it, then it's good.
Right.
It's good.
Right.
And so I wanted to ask this question in case you're just joining us on Good Morning Miramar. First of all, welcome to the show. We're speaking with Camasha Cevieux. She is the author of The Ambitious Collective. She also is the Director of Cultural Affairs for the City of Miramar. So we are right here in Miramar on the show this morning. I wanted to ask you the question of many people would want to do what you've done, write a book dealing with ambition, dealing with the collective, the people who, you've brought along the way, who've helped you along the way, yet things keep them from doing that.
Mhm.
You have a family.
Mhm.
You're a wife and you have two kids and parents and sister
Right.
and a job. How did you find the time, even during the pandemic, to write a book? And I know you said you started earlier on it, but
Sure.
with everything else that was going on this last year, how did you do that?
Well, to be quite honest with you, time, the word time is so important. I mean, that's one of the chapters, time empowers your stall. So in that particular chapter, I get into exactly what you do in the waiting room. You know, one of the quotes in the book is what God is doing in you while you wait is sometimes more important than what you're waiting for, right?
Wow. And
So,
say it again, because a lot of people don't want to be in the waiting room. They don't want to wait for it, but it
right.
might be where you need to be so that you can get what you need to get.
Right. So what I said again is what God is doing while you wait is sometimes more important what you're waiting for.
For.
And that gave me chills
Yeah.
when I said it. I think, like I said, when I go back to the dark place, I was in a super dark place when I wrote this book. But there aren't dark things in here
Okay.
because at the time that I wrote it, I was around a lot of young people. And I remember telling them, this is not the way things are supposed to be, because I know that hurt people and help people help people. And when you've been helped before, it's hard for you to go into, even if you've been hurt, go into a space where you want to now hurt someone else.
Right.
And so if I was to do anything right, I would then write something that could be useful for someone that's coming behind me. And that's where the writing process began.
Now, is this book a read for just people who are in the higher positions at their offices or in life? Or is this a book where someone who's just starting out, working in retail or working in a job that they don't necessarily want to be in right now, or maybe they do, is this a read for them as well?
Well, I mean, I think that's a great point, Tamara.
Mm-hmm.
Really, I designed it for young people.
Okay.
As well as as not young professionals, but professionals. Okay. And the idea was that it's a quick read. I wanted it to be a quick read. It's 111 pages.
Okay. And
I wanted you to be able to reference it like a manual, like your car manual. You go and check. Let me just see where how to change change the tires, or like one of the chapters is happiness is inside math, right? And it takes you through how the reality is being happy has everything to do with you and nobody else, and when you go from happy to sad, that's all you and what you're feeling and what you're exuding. This book is important to read several times. That was a goal. And I think I've achieved that because it has become a reference guide from people that have read it and bought it and really sort of digested it. They've gone back to spaces where they needed to hear something again. They felt like, no, she's packing a lot in that, even if it's very simple, right?
Right.
So they've told me they've gone back to those spaces. I wanted them to not only keep it and reread it, but I want people to pass it on, because again, if you think about the idea of what I said, ambition is, in order for that to continue, prospering, it has to be something that you continue doing, right?
Okay.
And embracing. And then when you don't have the book anymore, I designed merch. So I have t-shirts and mugs, because at the end of the day, how the book ends is really about being spotted. So imagine, Tamara, you went in a room and everybody that was ambitious or wanted to support you had on a shirt and identified themselves in the crowd. That's what I wanted. I wanted people, when I talked about the consumption of how this book was consumed, it was important for me to allow you to read it, pass it on, wear a t-shirt, not only to say that you read the book, but also to be identified as that person that embraces it and is excited about ambition for not only yourself, but for others. So all of them were synonymous with how I wanted this book to come out,
Well, speaking of this book coming out, it is out now, and the merchandise is as well. Tell us how we can get the Ambitious Collective.
Okay, so listen, everything's on Amazon. Let's just start there. Amazon was key in this process in terms of self-publishing this book. I was excited to do it with them. But one of the priorities I did is I built a website so that everything is self-contained. So you can actually get to Amazon through my website, but you can get an e-copy of the book.
Okay.
You can book me, where we can dive into, remember, because the book was not journaled. It was written in a way that you can see your experiences before you even consider mine. So we can dive into those topics, eat what you kill, or if you're lucky, no one will, if you're lucky if no one saves you. We can dive into those topics and get into the nitty gritty of what I was thinking. And then you have the merch. So it allows you, the full 360 of that is really to drive a movement.
And truly, with what you're doing, it would be great for book clubs. It would be great for young professional groups, as you mentioned, even just people who are looking to get some insight into how you were able to navigate your career and what you've done. Because again, congratulations on 19 years with a government entity. That literally is unheard of these days.
Tell me about it.
That's not just Miramar, that's just any city in America, period. Right. So I'm sure it is going to be a very interesting read for people. And yes, they can book you. That would be great. So for all you book clubs out there, the author is available. And of course, everything is virtual now. So you could go to theambitiouscollective.com, theambitiouscollective.com, get your book. Download it. You can get an ebook or you can get a hard copy as well. You can book Camasha for your book clubs and your meetings. But I just love
the merch. Get the merch.
Don't forget the merch.
and follow me on Instagram at Collective I Am.
Perfect.
As well.
Perfect. And that is so important, to follow and be a part of the collective, because obviously that is what we're put here for. I believe that, you believe that, is to bring up everybody we can. It is not about, just me getting my piece of cheese and no one else getting a piece of cheese. So
absolutely.
We want everybody to succeed and to come together, an ambitious collective. So thank you very much, Camasha Cevieux. She is the author of The Ambitious Collective. Again, you can go to her website. It looks great. theambitiouscollective.com, and get the book today. Book her, of course. Thank you so much for being with us. And thank you for the great job you're doing as Director of Cultural Affairs for the City of Miramar. I know that things are going to be back on track next year for many of the events. But the City of Miramar does it up big all the time. So next year, we know it's going to be back in full swing, I'm sure.
And I can always come back and we can talk about that, because what a challenge this was for the arts industry this year. So
Tell me about it. Tell me about
yeah.
it. So, all right. Well, we're going to be rebounding next year in 2022. And thank you so much for joining us again. If you want the book, it is theambitiouscollective.com. Be sure to go there and you can download it. You can get it on Amazon. And Camasha, thank you so much for joining us today on Good Morning Miramar.